Okay, so this is our first lesson. It's on selecting and moving with the selection tool. What I'm going to show you is, again, how to download the resource files, the practice files for the assignment, and then I'll walk you through that assignment. So let's get right started. I'm going to open Adobe Illustrator CC 2015. That is what the course is based on. As you see, I have some beautiful custom artwork by my wife that I've put in as my splash screen. Let's close the welcome. We don't need that, and I will minimize all my menus and everything. I'm going to switch to Google Chrome because that's my browser, and I'm going to type in the link for the assignment practice files. Now you will probably follow the link in the description below. I'll put it in there, and it will give you this zipped file, and I'm just going to save that to my desktop, and there it is. So I will go back to my desktop, and then I see the file over here on my desktop. I can double click that to expand and unzip it and then move it out of the way, and you can see that I have this template file here. So I have Illustrator open already, and I can simply double click that and it will open right up. And so now you see our the first assignment. Again, these are practice assignments, so we have instructions and we have objects that you can interact with, and I'll show you how this all works. So we're going to start using the selection tool, which is the default tool when you open Illustrator. It's up here in the toolbar, and you can see it and notice it by that black arrow, and it says selection tool. You can either click there to be sure you have it. You can hit the V key on the keyboard. That will also get your selection tool, or you can simply choose the icon over there. So we'll practice selecting each individual object below and then deselecting. And I tell you how to do that. To select, simply click on the object. To deselect, simply click away from the object on a blank area of the artboard or workspace. And so that's this white artboard here, and the workspace is this gray area. You will know the object is selected if the object is outlined with red paths and points, and you'll see that here in this example. We've got deselected artwork, just like all of these art pieces here, or these pieces of artwork, and then selected, and you'll see it has this bounding box. It has these anchor points, is what these little points are called, and then it has the path that you can see is highlighted in red as well. So I'll select this object over here, this star, and so again, click on it to select. You can see that it looks just like this over here, and then if you click off onto the white space, it again looks like the deselected artwork. So go through and take in turn practice selecting each individual piece of artwork and then deselecting. Select, deselect, select, deselect, all the way through for all of these. Oops, I didn't mean to scroll. So when you're done with that, then I will have you select multiple objects above, and that's these instructions number 2 down here, and then deselect. So there are 2 ways to select multiple. So using the selection tool, again, that's what we're going to use for this whole assignment. You may make a selection of multiple objects by holding the Shift key on the keyboard as you click once with your mouse on each object. So for example, I could click this heart, and if I hold down Shift, you can see that this down here, let me let's deselect that. So when you have the selection tool, this is a little indicator in the bottom of the screen. As long as you have your screen or your artboard to fit in the window, you should see this little indicator down here at the bottom. So as I have just the tool, it says what tool it is, the selection tool. And then when I hold down Shift, it turns into the toggle selection. Now what that means is I can toggle just like a light switch. Toggle means to change the setting back and forth. Think of a light switch, you toggle it up and down to turn it on and off. So in this case, I will click to deselect, click to select, click to deselect while I have the Shift button held, and it will toggle that selection. Okay, so I can click once without that selection, without Shift being held, and if I click again and again and again, it's just going to stay selected. If I hold down Shift, it will toggle that selection. This will come in very important later on when we're moving multiple objects. So for now, I want you to select multiple objects. So while I have one selected, this star, I'll hold down Shift and click the next object. You can see my bounding box changed for my selection because I now have two objects and they're separated by white space. You can also see the anchor points and the path of this other object also is selected, as is the center point because this is a circle. If I select another object in series or anywhere on the page, it changes that selection bounding box, and it also selects that new object. So practice, go through this, learn how to use the toggle selection, you holding down Shift while you have the selection tool, and then deselect when you want to select something new. The second way that you can select multiple objects is to simply drag across those objects. So I now, because I had my, let's deselect, I have my selection tool and I'm dragging across the star and across the octagon. I have them both selected now once I release. So I'll get deselect, let's get the triangle and this blob down here and the heart. And I can do that by dragging my selection across those three objects. And as you saw, I don't have to cross completely that object. I just need to get close to it and cover or go across that outside path of the object. So if I want to do multiple, I can select this hexagon and starburst by dragging, and then hold down Shift, and I can get the triangle as well if I'd like, or the heart as well. And so you can combine the two selection techniques, dragging and holding down Shift to toggle selection. Okay, when you are all done, I want you to look at something. Down here at the bottom it says continue. To continue the lesson, scroll right to get to the next page, and you can either do that by hitting this or dragging this scroll button over here, this scroll bar, to the next page, or if you're on this page, you can come down here to the bottom and go in this artboard navigation, and you can either select the next artboard, we're on 1, and we can select 2, or you can use these next arrow, and the next arrow will get you to the next page. So here we are on the next page, and we can follow along there. So for part 2, we are going to be moving objects. Again, we'll start with the selection tool, and again that's up here on the toolbar. It's the black arrow. We probably still have it selected if we haven't done anything since, or if you need to find it, it's the V key on your keyboard. Okay, so what we will do is we will first select the object you would like to move. This is a two-part process. I want you to get into the habit of making it a two-part process because later, as your objects are more complex and you need to select and then move in a different fashion, it'll be more natural for you to do so. So once selected, you may drag it to the new location. For this exercise, the new location is indicated by the black and white shapes in the middle of the page. So we can see this star here, and here is the black and white corresponding star shape. So I will click on that star and then let go. And you can see that I don't have anything held down or pressed, or I'm not dragging that object yet. I simply clicked and then let go, and that's what I mean. I want you to select the object first, and then once it is selected, then click and drag. And so when I say drag, I mean click and drag. So we're going to click the mouse down, and we're going to drag that to the new shape, and it should snap in place if smart guides are turned on, which they are in the template, so hopefully that is the same with your settings. If you get close to it and it's not snapping to place like that one just did, go to View, down to Smart Guides, and turn those on. Make sure there's a check mark next to those. Okay? Now we can drag another shape, so I will click it, click this octagon here, and then click and drag and put it where I want it to go, and just click and drag and practice with all of these shapes until you are comfortable with clicking or selecting and moving objects. So the circle and the heart and the starburst, click to select, then click to drag, and the half moon, click, and then click and drag. And there, I'm all done. And then deselect. Now, as you can see, you may want to do that again to have some more practice. That's okay. Again, if you watched the first video, you can simply you can simply close this file, do not save, and then reopen the file by going to the location we stored it, and it's this one right here, and I will click open, and then remember which page I'm on, because I need to keep track of those things. So we'll go down here to the next page, and I can practice again and again and again. Or if you're familiar enough with the software or with the program, you could simply undo. So what I mean by that is go move your object and then move all the other ones, and then when you're all done, either go to File or to Edit, Undo Move, or hold down the Command button on a Mac, Control button on a PC, and hit the Z key, and it will step back in time and undo the things that you have done. So again, to continue on, we will scroll to the right to get to the next page. Or we could have chosen the artboard preset, and then we are on this next page. So this again is moving objects, but you can see there's a little difference. I have some arrows pointing you which direction you need to go, and we're going to do moving objects in a straight line. And so that straight line is either a horizontal or a vertical or a diagonal. So again, we will start with the selection tool, and that should still be the active tool. And then we will select the object we would like to move. For example, this weird squirrely, or I don't know what kind of shape that is, kind of a blob. We will click to select it, and then once it's selected, we will drag it in a straight line. And if you are comfortable dragging it in a straight line, you're pretty awesome. However, you may not get it straight on like I have, and then after you start to drag the object, see, I still have it selected and I'm still dragging it, hold down the Shift key, and it will constrain into a perfect diagonal or straight horizontal or straight vertical. And so you can just hold in that direction following your arrow, and hold shift until you get it where it needs to be, and then release. Make sure you release the drag of your mouse before you release the shift key. I'll do that one more time. I'll do that with this green star here. So I've clicked to select, and then once selected, I will start to drag it in that direction. Once I've started to drag, I will hold down the shift key, and then once I get it to the place that I want, right here, I will let go of the mouse and then let go of the shift key. Okay, so there is a process to this. It is click to select, start to drag, hold down shift, get to the where you want, or the new location, release the mouse, then release shift. If you do that, it will stay constrained in that straight line until you release shift. So if you accidentally started to drag and hit shift, and you're dragging in that direction, and it's constrained on that vertical or that diagonal, and then you accidentally let go of shift first, you can see it's not in the place where it needs to be. So hold down shift and then let go of the mouse. And after you let go of the mouse button, then let go of shift. Okay? So that is this stage. So you'll select each individual object, move it to the new location, and then deselect. Moving on, we'll continue the lesson on the next page. So I'll simply click the next arrow here. And now we have selecting and moving objects, multiple objects. So again, we can do a couple of ways to select multiple objects. We can either click and hold down shift and select a different one and the other one, and we'll just get this group that's near each other. And then you can let go of shift after you have them selected, because if you're still holding down shift and you start to move, well, you're going to let go of one of those objects, like I just did here, and you can see that that weird red blob is not selected. So again, hold down shift to reselect it, or you could drag around those objects to select them, and then make sure that your finger, as you can see, I'm on shift, let go of shift, so I don't have any keys pressed on the keyboard, and then drag that to the new location. Where is that? That shape is over here. I'll get it in place, and I will let go. And I'll do the same with these and move them where they're supposed to be. Do the same with these and move them where they're supposed to be. And select these, move them to where they're supposed to be, and then I'm done. And if I want more practice doing that, just simply undo by Command Z or Control Z on your PC, and I'll just step back, step back, step back, and there I have it. And I have all of them back, and I can go through the process again. Okay? So now we can move on to the final page, page 5, and we're going to select the objects. So we'll select the multiple objects just like we did in the last page. And again, there are two ways to do that: holding down shift and adding to the selection, or drag across the selection, and then we're going to drag the objects in a straight line to the new location. Now remember how we did that in page 3, part 3. Oops, I forgot to label this part 5. I'm going to have to do that before I give access to the files. I'll fix that. Okay, so after we start to drag, then we hold down shift, and it will constrain to that that horizontal or the vertical or the diagonal, and I'll hold down shift until I get it to where I want it over here, and let go of the mouse and then let go of shift. And we'll do the same with these two, And you can do them in any order that you want. So after I start to drag, I'll hold down Shift and then move them to where I want, let go of the mouse, then let go of Shift. Do these three, hold down Shift, move, release the mouse button, then release Shift, and finally let's do these three all together like this. Hold down Shift after you start to drag, move them to where they need to be, let go of the mouse button, then let go of Shift. So go through and practice this as many times as you need. And again, this is the end of lesson 2.1. In the next lesson, we will talk about the direct selection tool and give you some practice with that. So thank you for watching, and stick around.